The next time you reach for a snack bar, a box of crackers, or a protein cookie that says no added sugar on the front of the package, I want you to look at one specific line on the nutrition label. Not the sugar line, not the calorie line, but the total carbohydrate line. Because what you are about to see is the reason that millions of adults over 50 are eating what they believe are safe snacks, watching their numbers stay elevated, and genuinely confused about why the diet is not working. Here is what the food industry has done. They removed the sucrose. They removed the fructose. They replaced it with maltodextrin, modified tapioca starch, rice syrup solids, dextrin, and a category of fiber-like ingredients that the FDA classifies as dietary fiber. Your pancreas responds to as glucose. Your blood sugar does not read the marketing label. Your blood sugar reads the carbohydrate load, and in many of these products, the carbohydrate load is identical to or higher than the original sugared version. In the next 18 minutes, I am going to walk you through the 5 specific things you need to know to stop spending money on products that are actively working against your metabolic health and health. And I am going to give you a 10-minute kitchen approach that outperforms every one of those products on glycemic response, on satiety, and on total cost. There is one ingredient category in particular that food manufacturers are counting on you not to understand. I will name it specifically, I will explain the mechanism, and I will show you exactly how to identify it on a label in under 4 seconds. Here is exactly what I am going to walk you through. Promise number 1, the 4 specific ingredient names that act as hidden glucose in products labeled no added sugar, including the one that has a higher glycemic index than table sugar itself. Promise number 2, the label reading method FEM, a 2-step check that takes under 4 seconds full, that tells you whether a no-sugar snack is metabolically safe before you ever open the package. Promise number 3, why the fiber claim on most of these products does not work the way you think it does, and the specific fiber source that actually blunts a glucose spike versus the ones that are just filler. Promise number 4, the 10-minute kitchen approach pie. 3 snack options, 0 specialty ingredients, assembled from what most adults over 50 already have at home pour, that produce a measurably lower post-meal glucose response than any commercial no-sugar snack bar on the market. And promise number 5, the one habit that compounds all 4 of the others, PRUD, a simple 2-minute step you take after a snack that cuts the glucose response by an additional 20 to 30%, according to published research from 2 separate university trials. I am a registered dietitian with a clinical background in metabolic nutrition. My work focuses on glucose regulation and dietary intervention in adults over 50, which is a population that faces specific biochemical challenges that general nutrition guidance simply does not account for. The patients I see have tried the products, they have read the labels, and they are still getting results that do not match the promises on the box. I want to tell you about a patient I will call Margaret. She is 68 years old. She had been managing her blood sugar through diet for approximately 2 years when she came to me. Her A1C was sitting at 6.9. Not dangerously high, but not where she wanted it. Margaret was doing nearly everything correctly. She had eliminated soft drinks, she had eliminated dessert, she had eliminated white bread. She was eating what she described as clean. And as part of that clean eating, she had replaced her afternoon snacks entirely with products from the health food aisle. Bars and crackers and cookies that were labeled no added sugar, diabetic friendly, low glycemic, and in several cases, approved by a registered dietitian. When I reviewed her food log, I noticed the afternoon snack category was the most consistent part of her entire diet. She ate the same 2 or 3 products almost every day. She trusted them completely. We ran a simple continuous glucose monitor for 2 weeks. The results were striking. Margaret's most significant daily glucose spike, Lutho, consistently higher than her post-breakfast spike. Consistently higher than her post-dinner spike, Froem, was occurring 45 minutes after her afternoon snack. The snack that was labeled no added sugar. The snack she had been eating every single day for 7 months. When we analyzed the ingredient lists, the pattern was immediate. Every one of those products contained maltodextrin as the second or third ingredient. Maltodextrin is a processed starch derived from corn or wheat. It is classified as a carbohydrate on the label, not as a sugar, which means it does not appear on the added sugars line. But maltodextrin has a glycemic index between 100 and 110. Table sugar of sucrose has a glycemic index of 65. Margaret had been consuming a glucose-spiking ingredient with a higher glycemic impact than table sugar in a product marketed specifically to people trying to manage blood sugar for 7 consecutive months. This is not a fringe case. This is the architecture of an entire product category. Here is what I did not tell you yet about Margaret's case to Co. And this is the part that changes the practical advice completely. When we remove the commercial snack bars and replace them with 3 simple kitchen options, her afternoon glucose spike dropped by an average of 61% in the first 2 weeks. But her A1C at the 3-month follow-up did not drop as much as we expected. There was a second factor at play, one that most nutrition content never discusses blood, and I will show you exactly what it was before this video ends. The glycemic index is a ranking of how quickly a specific food raises blood glucose relative to pure glucose, which is indexed at 100. Table sugar comes in at 65, white bread at 71, maltodextrin at 100 to 110, depending on the manufacturing process. Here is why this matters for adults over 50 specifically. After age 50, insulin sensitivity tends to decrease. The pancreas still produces insulin, but the cells respond to it more slowly, which means that rapid glucose spikes are more problematic than they were at 35. A glucose spike that a 30-year-old clears in 40 minutes may take a 60-year-old 90 minutes to clear. During that window, blood glucose is elevated, insulin is elevated, and the metabolic load is significantly higher. The food industry has responded to consumer demand for no-sugar products by removing sucrose and fructose, the ingredients that appear on the added sugars line, and replacing them with refined starches and processed carbohydrates that produce the same or greater glycemic response but do not trigger the regulatory labeling requirement. The ingredient list is legal, the marketing claim is technically accurate, and the metabolic effect is the opposite of what the consumer believes they are buying. The 4 ingredient names you need to learn to identify this pattern are maltodextrin, modified food starch, rice syrup solids, and tapioca syrup. When you see any of these as the first, second, or third ingredient in a product marketed as low sugar or no added sugar, be cautious. The product is not metabolically safe for a blood sugar conscious adult over 50. That is not an opinion. That is basic carbohydrate biochemistry. Here is the part of this conversation that most nutrition content gets wrong, and the part that I want you to hold on to. The problem is not snacking. The problem is not snacking at the wrong time. The problem is not even carbohydrates. There is a persistent idea in the senior health space that adults trying to manage blood sugar should just stop snacking entirely. No snacks, no spikes. And there is a logic to that position. But the clinical evidence for adults over 50 actually points in a more nuanced direction. Strategic snacking of a small, high-protein, high-fat, low-glycemic snack in the mid-afternoon window stim has been shown in multiple trials to reduce total caloric intake at dinner, reduce post-dinner glucose spikes, and improve satiety hormone signaling in adults with insulin resistance. The issue is not the snack. The issue is the snack's composition. And the commercial no-sugar snack industry has built its entire product line on the assumption that you will not read past the front of the package. If you have watched previous videos on this channel, we covered the 5 breakfast mistakes that elevate fasting glucose pro. That video is linked in the description and is directly relevant to what we are building here today. Now I will walk you through the 4-second label check, the fiber question, and then the 10-minute kitchen approach. Step 1, flip the package to the nutrition facts panel. Look at total carbohydrates. Now look at dietary fiber. Subtract dietary fiber from total carbohydrates. That number is your net carbohydrate load. For a snack, you want that number under 12 grams. Under 8 is better. Most commercial no-sugar bars come in at 14 to 22 grams of net carbohydrates. Step 2, look at the first 5 ingredients. If you see maltodextrin, modified food starch, rice syrup solids, or tapioca syrup anywhere in that list, put the product back. The label math in step 1 might look acceptable, but those ingredients carry glycemic loads that the fiber count does not offset. Not all dietary fiber behaves the same way in the body. Inulin, chicory root fiber, and psyllium husk are soluble fermentable fibers. that slow gastric emptying and genuinely reduce the rate of glucose absorption. Cellulose, oat hull fiber, and insoluble wood cellulose are bulking agents. They add to the dietary fiber number on the label. They do not slow glucose absorption. They are essentially packaging material. When a no-sugar bar lists chicory root or inulin in the first 3 ingredients after protein and fat, the fiber claim is metabolically real. When it lists oat hull fiber or cellulose, the fiber is a label improvement, not a physiological one. Option 1. 2 tablespoons of natural almond butter, the kind with no added oil or sugar. Ingredient list should read almonds and salt too. Spread on 3 to 4 slices of cucumber or celery. Total net carbohydrates, approximately 3 grams. Protein, 6 grams. Fat, 18 grams. Glycemic impact, negligible. Cost, under 60 cents per serving. Option 2. 2 hard-boiled eggs, prepared in advance, stored in the refrigerator, sieve with a quarter of an avocado and a pinch of sea salt. Total net carbohydrates, approximately 2 grams. Protein, 12 grams. Fat, 22 grams. Glycemic impact, essentially 0. Option 3, 2 tablespoons of full-fat cottage cheese, the not low-fat, the fat is protectified, mixed with 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed and a small handful of walnuts. Total net carbohydrates, approximately 4 grams. Protein, 14 grams. Fat, 16 grams. Glycemic impact, low. Compare those profiles to a leading commercial no-sugar snack bar, which the manufacturer sells for $2.20, which carries 17 grams of net carbohydrates, 8 grams of protein, and maltodextrin as the second ingredient. The kitchen approach is cheaper, faster to consume, more metabolically protective, and requires no label reading once you know the 3 combinations. Now, Rare, back to Margaret. I told you her afternoon glucose spike dropped 61% when we changed the snack. But her 3-month A1C did not move as much as the daily numbers predicted. This is the second factor I promised to explain. And it is almost never discussed in nutrition content. A 2008 trial published in the journal Diabetes Care Forum and replicated in a 2022 follow-up study at the University of Limburg, Thomas, found that 10 minutes of light physical movement taken within 15 minutes after a meal or snack reduced the peak glucose response by an average of 24% compared to seated rest after the same meal. The movement did not need to be exercise. It did not need to raise heart rate. Standing and washing dishes, walking to the mailbox, doing 10 slow bodyweight squats in the kitchen fell, all produced equivalent glucose-lowering effects. What was happening with Margaret was this. She was eating the right snack, but she was eating it at her desk, sitting in the same chair and staying seated for the next 2 hours. Her improved snack composition was doing approximately 60% of the available work. The other 40%, or the movement windows to close, was being left on the table every single afternoon. When she added 2 minutes of standing movement after the snack, her A1C follow-up at 6 months showed the full improvement the daily numbers had predicted. The mechanism is skeletal muscle glucose uptake. When large muscle groups are active, they pull glucose out of the bloodstream independently of insulin. In adults with reduced insulin sensitivity, this non-insulin-mediated pathway is one of the most powerful tools available and it costs nothing. 2 minutes of standing movement after your snack. That is the second factor. That is the 5th promise. And Margaret's 6-month result is what happens when both pieces are in place at the same time. I want to address 2 things I hear regularly. The first comes from people like Robert Finns. He is 62. He travels 3 weeks out of 4 for work. Robert's response to the kitchen approach was straightforward. That sounds great at home. It does not work in an airport. To Robert, I would say, hard-boiled eggs are sold at every major airport food counter in the United States. A small container of natural almond butter weighs under 3 ounces and passes TSA without issue. The preparation is 10 minutes once on Sunday, not 10 minutes every afternoon. Batch 2 days of snacks on a Sunday evening, store them in small containers, and the portability argument dissolves entirely. Robert has been doing this for 4 months. He has not bought a commercial snack bar since March. The second objection is about cost. The commercial bars are marketed as a health investment, and a $2 bar feels like a reasonable price to pay for blood sugar management. The recalculation is simple. The bar is not managing blood sugar. The bar is producing a glucose spike comparable to eating a small handful of crackers. You are paying a premium for a product that is working against you. The kitchen approach costs less per serving and produces measurably better metabolic outcomes. The cost argument is not a reason to continue buying the bars. It is a reason to stop. If you want a complete reference for everything covered in this video, the full 4-second label check protocol, the complete list of fiber sources that are metabolically real versus label padding, and a 7-day snack rotation with prep instructions I have put together a free downloadable guide that you can access through the first link in the description below. It is a single PDF, no email required, no subscription. You download it, you print it if you want, and you keep it in your kitchen where the decisions actually get made. If you take nothing else from this video, take this. The front of a package is marketing. The nutrition facts panel and the ingredient list are data. The data and the marketing are frequently telling you opposite things. Your blood sugar responds to the data, not the marketing. Every week, millions of adults over 50 are spending money on products they believe are protecting their metabolic health, while those products are doing the opposite. That is not a personal failure. That is the predictable outcome of a food labeling system that allows the term no added sugar to appear on a product containing maltodextrin, rum, an ingredient with a higher glycemic index than table sugar. You now have the 4-second check. You have the 3 kitchen options. You have the 2-minute movement protocol. You have the story of what those 2 pieces look like when they work together. That is a complete system, and every part of it is free. If this video was useful to you, please hit the like button. Every like tells the algorithm to show this to one more adult over 50 who is navigating this exact confusion. Subscribe to the channel if you want to continue receiving this kind of content. The next video covers the 5 medications known to raise fasting glucose as a side effect and the one prescribed to more adults over 60 than almost any other which most patients are never told to account for in their dietary planning. If you have a spouse, a sibling, a parent, or a close friend who is managing blood sugar and who is currently buying products labeled no added sugar, send them this video. The information in this video takes 18 minutes to watch and could change the single most consistent daily decision they are making about their health. All right, that's all the time we have for today. I will see you in the next video.